Welcome to the garden shop. In this video I want to show you one of probably the most used herbs of all, which is the basil herb. I'm just going to show you now how exactly to sow it. So firstly, the packaging itself, it comes in this paper greaseproof bag, and then inside that you get a Ziploc waterproof bag containing the seeds, so all quite handy for storage. Looking at the packaging then, it has two useful bits here on it. Firstly, at the very bottom is a web link to the exact sowing instructions and aftercare of the product. So if you can see that there now, at the bottom it has the sowing instructions link, which will link you to the website and will explain the whole process from sowing seeds to aftercare. And on the top corner here is a scannable barcode, which allows you to, with an iPhone, scan the barcode and log directly onto the website, providing all the information you need on how to grow and care for your basil plants. So we'll start that process today in explaining how exactly to sow the seeds. So basil seeds are best started off in seed trays like this here, and will then be transplanted on. So we have here a seed tray which we already have half sown with another crop, and we're just going to sow these remaining 12 cells here with basil. Now the thing about basil is it can be a difficult plant to grow, but it really is good in that it has very many uses in terms of use it in soups, and you can put it with a lot of different dishes. You can make pesto out of it, so it's probably one of the most used herbs of all, and a lot of people like to keep them indoors in their kitchen. So the starting off the process, what we would do then is we'll just open up our packet here and just take a look at the seeds themselves. Okay, just going to pour a handful of them out here. So that's the seeds there. Okay, so they're small enough, and again, without being too precise, we're just going to fill, maybe put 3 in each of these trays. Just notice a little bit low inside, so just going to top that up a bit. What we have in this soil mix is a 1 part compost or potting compost and 1 part perlite, and that's the ideal mix for the likes of basil, providing nutrients for about 6 to 8 weeks and sufficient water and drainage over that time. So I have in my fingers here about 4 seeds, so I'm just going to try and scatter roughly 3 per punnet here, and then continue on filling all the trays here. Okay, so 3 or 4 is fine. Spreading them out a little bit. I don't know if you can see them going in because they're quite small. And then 2 left, put one here. Okay. So that's it, and then the next thing you want to do is just give a very light covering with compost again. So we have here, this is our compost mix. You can see it's just got small little bits of organic material in it, which is just something that will, over the course of time, break down and bulks up the compost really. So it's useful, but again, if you have a potting compost, which is just 100% compost, that will be more suited to growing seeds. Again, after you've added the small fine layer of compost to the surface, you just want to press it in lightly, because seeds require a little bit of contact, or good contact, between the seed itself and the compost. Next step is to water it in. So we have here a pressure sprayer, which is quite useful for watering your compost. It doesn't pour out so fast that it's going to wash all your seeds away, but it gives a nice spread on the water, forcing a good bit of water out at one time. So really the key then is to keep your seeds moist, and also if you are going to do this, I noticed that the outside trays are always the ones that get the least amount of water, so try and pay extra attention to watering them. Okay, so it gets a good soaking in. Again, compost requires a good soaking the first time you water it. It could dry out quite fast depending on the temperatures inside. So you want to keep an eye on it, check it twice a week, see if it needs an extra bit of water. Okay, so you want it to be moist but not waterlogged. So that's the first step really. Again, whenever you're doing anything like this, it's always useful to label up what you've done. So I'll just quickly write down basil and then the date that we sowed. And then we'll just place it this side of our seed tray, so we know that this side is the basil and this side is what is in that case asparagus. Again, getting a propagation lid, which we have here. This one fits perfectly over the 24-cell seed tray, and the idea of the propagation lid is to when sunlight hits it, it'll keep the heat in, heating up the air, and more importantly heating up the soil below, which will speed up germination. Germination itself should take 2 to 3 weeks. After that, allow the seedlings to grow up maybe just to half the height of this seed tray. So you're talking about 4 to 6 weeks after germination. You'll then want to transplant your seedlings onward into what we have here is 9 centimetre pots. The reason for that is after 6 weeks the seedlings will need fresh compost with more nutrients in it. Otherwise they'll stunt and they won't grow as quickly as you would have liked. So as I said, 4 to 6 weeks after germination, transplant into your 9 centimetre pots, and then once your seedlings have reached about 10 to 15 centimetres in height, transplant them again into this 1 litre or 2 litre pot like this. And effectively that's the size of pot that you'll keep your basil in. Keep it in a window inside in a bright location, and you should be able to harvest your crop within a year. But again, if you're going to harvest your basil, always try to give it enough time for it to develop a good root system and enough foliage before you start picking away at the crop. And that's it really. That's how to grow the basil seeds. Again, in about 2 weeks time the seeds should have emerged. So in about 6 to 8 weeks time we'll be back here transplanting them on into the pots. So that's it. That's the basil seed. Again, all of these are available on thegardenshop.ie.